Good morning and welcome to the Feeling Fly podcast. Would the two of you like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Amelie. I'm a junior and I use she, her pronouns.
Hi, my name is Piero. I'm also a junior. I use he, him pronouns.
Awesome. So, thank you both for taking the time to be here with me so early on a Friday. I really appreciate that. And today I thought because, Valentine's Day just passed that we could do a cute little special here on the podcast. So a student asked me, well, an anonymous student asked what it's like to date while being fly on campus. And so I thought I would consult some experts on this.
I'm my experts, but
But yeah, I mean, I would be really interested to hear about your experience. So if you want to start by telling like a story of how you met or something like that, then that would be really cool.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I can take this one. All right. So basically, for context, me and Amelie did not start dating until first semester of sophomore year, but we did know each other for a pretty long time, beginning of first year. So essentially, it was during orientation that I believe I met Amelie, but she doesn't think so. Um, I think
True.
it was like second or third day where I was grabbing lunch, and I since it was orientation, I didn't really know anyone, so I decided to go back to my dorm because I was ashamed. And then, but then as I was walking back to Stearns, I saw a Hispanic girl sitting in the tent. And I was like, oh, well, I'm Hispanic, she's Hispanic, I'm trying to make friends here, why not approach her and just talk? So I decided to approach her, and that's when I started talking. And yes, the first time I believe I've met Amelie, unless Amelie, you want to tell your part.
I mean, I think that happened after we've had Spanish class with each other for all of freshman year, both first semester, second semester. And I think I met him in Spanish class first, and then after that, he came to sit next to me.
I don't think that's true. I don't think I feel like the first time I met you was during or was during orientation under the tent.
No, I'm pretty sure school has started. Anyways, that's besides the point. But
Okay, thank you for sharing that. I'm like, now I really want to get to the bottom of what actually happened. Like, gonna see if there were any witnesses or anything. But yeah, I guess like one of my first questions is, before you started dating, did you expect there to be any challenges because of your fly identities?
Mhm.
you can go first.
Okay. Um, Honestly, when I first arrived at Amherst, I didn't really go with like the intention of dating. Um, to give context, I went to a private high school. I got a scholarship to go to a private high school, so I had already like kind of witnessed what it was like to be low income, uh, POC at a like PWI with high income people. And when I came to Amherst, I honestly felt a little more comfortable on how to navigate the space. But I didn't really think of like of anything specific about my identity when it came to dating. I guess I was very open to dating anyone if it happened. Regardless of identity, I just thought I just didn't want to like, date someone who was like mean and stuff like that. So for me, it was kind of just being very open-minded when it came to Emerson. I think a lot of it helped from high school because of my background, but yeah.
I feel like I had like the opposite experience. I didn't really know what to expect coming into Amherst, and I didn't really know what like it really meant to be fly until coming to Amherst because I also went to a private Catholic school and it was all girls for context. But I was like, I don't know, my Catholic school was like under like resourced and not like it closed down my junior year. So for context, and then but I feel like a lot of people in my school were on financial aid, and at least people in my friend group also were like on financial aid, and the majority of the school like was like people of color, and like white people were like the minority at my school. So like, and I didn't really know much about like Amherst in terms of like diversity or like like I know they were like diverse for liberal arts college, but I didn't really know like in terms of like money, like how that I would be surrounded by people who are like super wealthy until I got to Amherst, and then I was like, whoa, like this is really different than high school. So I didn't really like have any expectations coming into Amherst because I think I was just so unaware of what like the culture at Amherst would actually be like. So once I was here, I don't know, I just didn't really think about dating either. I was just like, if it happens, it happens. But I did get like really intimidated, and I kind of felt like once I got to Amherst, I kind of knew that like, oh, I probably won't be interacting with the rich people that much, so I probably won't be dating any like more like middle class, upper class people here at Amherst, just because even like from doing like summer bridge during the summer, like my friend group was all first gen low income students, so then like going into Amherst and kind of sticking to that friend group, I kind of had the expectation that I wouldn't really like meet other people outside of that demographic, I feel like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess going off of that, is there anything that actually was affected by your class status once you started dating that you kind of didn't expect to be a big deal?
I guess like when me and Amelie first started dating, uh for me, I think the biggest thing was spending money, which we had conversations about. Like Amelie has a different point of view on it, but I have also have a different point of view. I think for me, I guess growing up, uh, obviously, life was harder growing up because of like, my parents, or at least my mom, uh, we didn't get paid very well, so it was hard for her to keep up with like food and stuff like that. And we were actually on, um, not welfare, but what was that's the thing, the EBT? Yeah, we were on EBT for a while. So like, there were times where we had to ration, So I think experiences like that have like kind of like stuck with me in the sense of like, now that I'm older, now that I have my own bank account, my own money and I work, um, I'm very like hesitant to want to spend on things that I feel like aren't necessary for me. Um, and I feel like sometimes it can be a little extreme where, um for me, like I feel like I don't want to spend on like, things that I should be spending on, like food, for example. Like if I want to buy myself food and I need food, like I'm too hesitant to spend. I'll just say I'll wait the next day, but that's not right. And I've been trying to break that. And I think when we first started dating, I know our relationship, money is a big thing because you go out on dates, you buy your person like, I don't know, gifts and stuff like that. And for me, at the beginning, I tried to break a little bit from my like past, but like I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. It still is hard to kind of like get out of that mindset where like you're always consistently worried about money and not having enough because you're like, oh, what if I don't have enough money for like the future, for an apartment or for like a car or for other things? And it's just like overthinking because of like the experiences I've had at least while growing up, flying and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting because although we're both like, quote unquote, like we're fly, we both grew up very, I feel like very differently. And so that's why we have like different ways when it comes to like our money or just like certain practices that we have or like values maybe. I don't know if that's the right word, but values. I feel like it's funny because I feel like Piero's like very like survivor mode type of boy. Like when it comes to me, I feel like because like now that I am making my own money, like here in college, I'm just like, oh, I don't mind spending it because now it's my money and I can do whatever I want with it. And but I also think there's also like limits to that obviously because like both of us have like, like different bills that we have to pay and things like that. So it's also like being like considerate of that too, of like what like other outside expenses that your partner has to pay for us. Cause like, like your girl's got medical debt out here. And I remember like telling Piero like how much like I had to pay for it. And he's just like, whoa, like that's a lot. So it's also being mindful of like other things that like come outside of Amherst that you have to like pay for. Like sometimes my mom call me and just be like, oh, I need money for this and that, and I'll be like, okay, and then I'll just give it to her. Or like because I'm also like I'm from California and Piero's from Massachusetts, like I have to pay for flight tickets. So a lot of the money that I do make sometimes I don't be seeing it because like a couple $100 out at once would just be spent on flight tickets. So it's like it's very different in that sense, I feel like. And it just goes to show, there's not like one way of being poor, and like we've learned that
Yeah.
through being together.
I also will add that like when dating Amelie, like even yeah, I think because we both are fly, like our experiences are still very vastly different just because I live in Massachusetts, so like I guess there's more like benefits to me that I receive than she does in California, which makes a great difference. Like for example, healthcare, um, and like just other stuff like that. But also like in my personal circumstances, like I do have like the support of my father, in my like household. So like it definitely is something that like, does help me kind of like, when there's like something that needs to be paid, my dad is always like there, because he wasn't there in the past, but now he is. So like it's obviously like it's as time passes, I think my situation has gone better, and obviously it's not the same for other people. So I will say I'm very fortunate to have, you know, that like that privilege to have like I guess another parent support me in my life.
Yeah. I really appreciate you both sharing that. I guess, like to take more of a positive turn perhaps. Everything's welcome here on my podcast. But I don't want it to get like too depressing for you. So yeah, I would say like, is there any unexpected benefit to dating someone else that's from like a lower class background?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's do you want to go?
There you
Okay,
go.
um, I think for like dating someone of the same background, like income, and I would even say like kind of race or ethnicity, um, it brings a lot of benefits just because like you guys basically kind of know each other already from like a start. Like take out personality and just take out like put background. Like you guys already like know what it's like the struggle and all that. And I feel like that kind of makes it really easier to date because you have things to talk about. You have things that you can relate. It's just nice to know another person and who goes to school with you and a very like rich high level elite institution, know that they have the same experiences as you and like kind of share that. I think it makes dating easier because now you just are more comfortable with like your past and how you want to like tell that person or just things about you that you may not want to share with someone who may be middle class or upper class. So it definitely is very nice.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's easier to be like maybe more vulnerable with the person because like certain things they can understand, like when it comes to like how we spent, well, what kind of or like not being able to do so, or like certain things like how we grew up, or like patterns like of our moms and things like that. Like it's a lot easier. um and I also feel like there's a lot like less pressure to it because we both like share like the same like fly identity. um and like even like because I'm from California, and I was able, like in the summer when I stayed here, I was able to go to like Piero's house. Even that in itself is comforting because to me it felt like being home, because it was another Hispanic household, and then, it was like a apartment, and I live in an apartment back home. So it's like cool in that sense, where I feel like if I was like, dating some rich man and he had like whole mansion, I'd be like, where am I right now? I need to like go home. I guess like the feeling of like not belonging isn't really there.
Yeah, I guess like
Yeah.
a yeah feeling of pressure because like yeah if you I don't know if one of us were to date hypothetically someone who's like of our class, I think there's definitely a sense of pressure where like I don't know, you gotta like show their parents that
Yeah.
you got mannerisms, you know where the fork goes, the spoon and all that, like the table dining. I don't know, this just might be me overthinking it, but like it definitely is there like the sense of pressure of like what it means to like be of a lower class, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mhm. Yeah. I guess like so for fly students who are coming into Amherst, who are thinking about dating, do you think that it's important for them to think about the class status of their future partner, Or, I mean, I think you started by saying, oh, I had a much more open-minded approach. So what would you recommend?
Honestly, after not after, well, while still dating, I would.
Like, wait,
Uh-oh.
I honestly would recommend. Well, my first thing is that those who are coming to Amherst, stay away from dating your first year, bro. Like, you need to like really like get to know campus, get to know other people. You don't want to rush things. That's just my one advice, but that's a whole different conversation. But like in regards to like the fly identity, um, I would just say like if you want to be open minded and go into dating someone of a higher class, middle class, I say go for it. But for me and my personal experiences, I think that I would definitely have had a hard time dating someone of an upper and middle class just because of like the differences and like kind of like I would even say like low key trauma of growing up broke like that kind of spills into your relationship like like spending money like how is that gonna be you know like how are you gonna handle that especially because the tradition if you're still following traditions like oh the guy pays on the first date or the guy has to pay for that like as a guy like you know I don't want to be dating someone who expects me to take them to like that sushi or like the Japanese restaurant on the street every weekend. That thing's expensive, like I barely take myself out. Like, what's going on, So definitely, like I think if it would just come natural to someone, especially someone who, if you relate to someone from like the same background, I think, you already have like a head start there. So I think you're more inclined to kind of date someone who's just similar to you, in my opinion, psychologically too. So um if you want my only thing is if you want to keep an open mind and go into dating someone of a higher class, do it but from my experiences, my personal experience, I think it would just be harder because of like, the background and everything, certain things of the way you grew up, certain mannerisms that, it just would be hard to explain at times. So, I guess I saved myself from doing that because now, I don't have to do that with Amelie. So
wait, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it was just like if a flight student is coming into Amherst and they're thinking about dating,
Mhm.
like, would you give them advice about being aware of class status, or would you just encourage them to keep an open mind?
I mean, I want to say to keep an open mind. I feel like you can do both. Like keep an open mind, but also like be aware that if you do get into a relationship with someone outside of like your class status, it's gonna be a little bit different. Um, but that's not to say that it's impossible either, you know. If you want to marry into that generational wealth, go ahead. Like, stop. It's tough out here. It's a tough economy. But I just do it obviously just like depends on the person that you're with because you just have to make sure that that person is considerate of like your own experiences too. Um because I mean like although like me and Piero are both fly and like we do have similar experiences or can understand each other better like how I said like earlier there's still some differences in which like took time for us to understand each other so like I don't think that like like although you might be dating someone of the same class status there's still going to be some differences that like and obstacles there too but obviously that's like heightened when you're with someone who's like from a different class status but I don't think it's impossible I just think it's like it just depends on the person you're with and making sure that they're considerate of like of you your experiences like of your limits and boundaries um yeah, and don't try to like force you out of your comfort zone when it comes to certain things. I don't know why, like I'm just picturing I'm just picturing like someone like like a like low like a I don't know, like a fly person like dating like a rich person and they're just like constantly taking them out to trips. I don't know if that actually happens, but that's just like my perception of it, which might be bad. Like maybe like richer people listening to this podcast are like, no, we're not like
yeah,
that. But that's what I imagine. But I also feel like that can get uncomfortable for someone too if you're like someone's just like constantly spending money on you and you're not really used to that. Like that in itself is kind of like an uncomfortable situation and your partner might not understand why. So I think it's just important to have like those important conversations with your partner. But it's also difficult too because you don't just want to like, like I don't how would you just bring up like, hey, I'm like poor, so you can't really be doing these things because it's just like a learning process. But I say just like be open minded because
Yeah.
I don't think anything's impossible.
I would say like, you know, I think to give context to like Amherst, like what is the percentage of like isn't it like like the 1% here? Like
Yeah,
it's like very high percentage of them,
yeah,
right? Like so it's like you gotta take into consideration the context of where you are. You're at Amherst College, and like a lot of people here have a lot of wealth that it's pretty hard to comprehend at times. Now I'm not saying that, like that shouldn't mean you shouldn't date one of those people. Obviously, like if you really fall in love, or you have something that you like about this person, go for it. Right? No, no, for real, go for it. But
So
Amelie said, like you have to, keep in mind that there are gonna be some like struggles, and if
mm.
there isn't, then good job. Like you hit the. Now I want to say you hit the jackpot, but you know, you're making money moves.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So I did not share this question in advance. So if you don't have an answer to it or you don't feel comfortable, then that's totally fine. But I was just thinking like whether it be generic or specific to Amherst, date ideas that are like a little less expensive than normal.
that's a good question.
Are there any that you'd recommend?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, I would. I would recommend, if you have access to a dorm with kitchen, I would recommend doing a cooking night.
yeah,
Like you will save yourself a lot of money. Like we just did one yesterday. We did chicken parm. Um, although the plan didn't go as we planned to, we did make a lot of food, and
yeah,
that could have lasted like a good 3 days.
yeah,
And it's really good. As long as you cook it well. But like I think date nights, cooking nights would be good. I mean, you can go down to Big Y or any other stores, spend like at least like $70 or $50, and you're gonna have yourself like a lot of food for like 3 days, and
yeah.
that's the amount you probably be spending when you go to like Crazy Noodles or like Veracruzana. So like
For Aya.
for just yeah, it's like wild, how expensive things are here. But yeah, I think cooking nights are a great way to not only like save in money, but also, get a good amount for like, less,
Yeah, and
also.
you're also spending quality time.
Yeah, quality time.
Like doing like the cooking and stuff like that, and you got like it's like a team bonding exercise because you're like cooking together and working together to make a meal. So I would definitely recommend cooking nights. And your classic movie night in your dorm too. There's nothing wrong with that either. That's very chill, very relaxing, especially like after a semester of like or like a week of going to classes and doing homework, like just like laying down, watching movies.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think, yeah, movies are a great way to, like you can just get it online. I mean, you
Yeah.
can pirate it too, yeah, but you didn't hear that from me. But like, there's a lot of things to do here that, there's just like simple, very, like sencillo, right?
Mhm.
Simple that like you can do. I think people over like kind of like down look on them because they're like, oh, you're watching a movie, like it's kind of boring. Like, no, it's fun. It can be fun. You can make it fun. You can buy popcorn, which is not that expensive. Have a nice little setup and do it. Cooking nights are fun, and then
All
just
about the vibes.
yeah, it's all about the vibes, honestly.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't like think of like going to like I don't know, like some like
Yeah. Or something else, like what we used to do, like more in the beginning when we started dating, we would just buy boba, which is only like
yeah,
$6,
yeah,
and then just walk around campus and just like take
yeah.
walks and talk and stuff.
It's all about the vibes. You don't want to do crazy stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So this is also a surprise question, but it's the last question. I promise it's the last question. So in terms of like finding a balance, we know that oftentimes why students have additional responsibilities, compared to those of the typical student at Amherst. So is it difficult for you to find a balance between all of your responsibilities and also dating?
That's a good question. I feel like because we're both fly and we've had conversations about like our future and like kind of like what Piero was saying like earlier, I feel like we both kind of like share the same anxieties of like what happens after Amherst, basically like oh, I need money for apartment, for like deposit, for furniture, shit like
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. The terror in your eyes.
sorry, or shit like that. So I feel like because of that, we kind of both like have the expectation that like our academics come first
Yeah.
before anything. And so I think that makes it easier when we're like, oh, we have a lot of work to do, or oh, I have to do this. Like maybe I won't be able to spend that much time with you, or we won't like be able to do the plans that we originally had planned. I feel like it's like we kind of have an understanding sometimes that it's that that like it's okay like to do that or to prioritize our schoolwork because being at least for us like the whole point of us being here is to like achieve some type of social mobility. So and we both have like that kind of like similar goals in that sense, so for us at least it's like okay
Yeah.
to kind of be like, oh, sorry, I have to do this for work or I have to do this for school and stuff like that. Or it's even like or even like me to like giving people a heads up being like, oh, on Saturday or like Sunday, actually this Sunday from like 2 to 6 I had to work Winterfest because I gotta make the bank, you know?
Yeah. I think we honestly, and if I look back at our relationship, I don't think we ever like really like struggled that much when it came to like balancing our academics,
Yeah.
our work. Maybe like at times we were just like, bruh, like, kind of like
Yeah.
we had this plan already, but there wasn't really any like struggle when it came to that. I feel like we're both very understanding of like, if I have to do homework, I'm gonna do it, and that's how it is. And then if I have to do like you have to work or I have to do work, I think we just kind of like we just know. I feel like we both just know we're like mature in that sense. And I guess what else? What's the other question? What was it?
That's the question.
Well, let me just add. I was gonna say also like I think yeah about like we have many conversations about the future, and I think those are very scary. Uh, I would just, my advice for those who are listening to this is if you are flying, you are dating someone at Amherst, um,
Or in general.
yeah, in
Oh
general,
my God.
yeah, I would just not like really like focus too much on the future because it's just gonna cost you too much stress and anxiety. You already have them, like why cost more, like I think it's good to want to be with your partner for the future, but it's also like you gotta like at times be realistic and just keep in mind that because of your circumstances, because of where you are in your social class, that like there are certain things that are not possible that other people can do in of a higher class, right? Like especially because Amelie is from California and I am from Massachusetts. It's also that question of like travel and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which you know, it's very hard to think about. And, if you really truly love a person, like it's hard at times to, process things. So I would just tell people that just live the moment, and let things try like, progress themselves and, just, enjoy it and, just, yeah.
Yeah. I also say like maybe some more like practical advice like if you're like worried about not having enough time with your partner and also like trying to prioritize your like academics or your schoolwork. I would say just have like another idea for a date is just having a study date. It might not be like the funnest thing in the world, but it's also like you're able to like do your work, but also like have the company of your partner with you at the same time. And sometimes like that's just what you're gonna have to do, especially at college, because like you do have social life at college, but like especially being like at a like residential campus, like you're mainly here to do schoolwork. So just having that in mind. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Right. Sorry. I've been a little sick. But yeah, that's really great. Do you have anything else that, like my questions haven't covered or anything else that you like to say to the audience?
Hmm. Honestly, no, not really.
He's like working
Say
up to
something.
something.
I would just
Anticlimactic.
I would just tell everyone, who's looking today at Amherst, fly and whatever. Like just, just just have fun, right? But also be aware of like everything that like that goes around this is a very small school, right? And I would also, if you're very vulnerable and you're still a little scared to share some of your like vulnerabilities with people, I would just, my last advice would be just keep that in mind. You want to be low key about what you do and all that because you're no, yeah, you don't want to like you don't want people all up in your business and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Preach.
Do I have any last minute things to say? Um, I would just echo what Piero said about taking your freshman year to not date. I feel like that's like, especially like being fly and maybe this is your first time being like alone from your family and things like that. Just take advantage of the experience and just like try to develop who you are as a person. Obviously, that's always like ongoing, but I feel like especially your freshman year where like everything is so new, that would be my advice. And also I feel like we made like it out to be very serious about like dating fly and things like that, but it's also like it's fun. Like dating is fun and sometimes like yeah, like the labels that like the institution puts on us on being fly, I feel like we tend like and it's like our real experiences, but we do tend to like lean into those labels a lot. And I feel like, you just have to have fun. It is college. Try not to worry so much about like obviously there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to worry about money and things like that. But if you have the right partner, then I feel like everything should not come easy, but be more like I don't know what's the word. It's fun. I guess it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, once again, I appreciate you both for taking the time to appear on the podcast. And yep, I'll let you know whenever the episode airs.
Yeah.